My brother looked me in the eyes while I was hooked up to an oxygen machine and said, "I hope you stop breathing," because I wouldn't co-sign his car loan. I have had asthma my whole life, not the kind where you cough a little and use an inhaler and move on, the kind where I've been hospitalized 4 times, the kind where my airways close without warning and I stop being able to pull air into my lungs and everything goes dark at the edges. When I was 11, I had an attack so bad that my mother drove 90 miles an hour to the emergency room and carried me inside because I had gone limp in the back seat. The doctors told her another 2 minutes, and it would have been different. My brother Cody was in the car that night. He was 13. He watched our mother carry me through those doors. He saw her face. He heard the way she screamed for help. He knows exactly what it looks like when I can't breathe. He's known since he was 13 years old. So when he said what he said to me 20 years later, he knew exactly what those words meant. It was a Sunday. I was 31. I had been admitted the night before after an attack that hit me while I was cooking dinner. My wife Paloma called the ambulance and rode with me and stayed in the chair next to my bed all night. By morning, I was stable but still on oxygen. The mask was on my face and the machine was beeping, and I was exhausted the way you get after your body tries to shut down and then has to restart. Cody walked in around noon. He didn't ask how I was feeling. He didn't look at the machine or the tubes or my wife who had been awake for 16 hours. He pulled a chair up to my bed and said, "I need you to co-sign something for me." He wanted a car. His credit was bad because he had defaulted on 2 credit cards and a phone plan and a furniture payment that he told the store he would handle and never did. No dealership would approve him on his own, so he needed a co-signer. He had already asked our mother, who said no. He asked our Uncle Beto, who said no. He asked his friend from work, who said no. I was his last option, and he couldn't even wait until I was out of the hospital to ask. I told him no. I told him my credit was the only thing I had that was clean, and I wasn't attaching it to someone who had a history of not paying things back. I said it as gently as I could because I was tired, and I didn't want to fight from a hospital bed. Cody leaned back in his chair and stared at me. Not angry at first, just staring like he was calculating something. Then he said, "I do everything for this family, and nobody ever helps me with anything." He said this to a man who had lent him $3,000 2 years ago that he never paid back. He said this to a man whose wife had watched his dog for 6 weeks while he sorted out an apartment situation. He said this to a man who had driven 40 minutes at midnight to pick him up from a bar because he didn't want to pay for a ride. He said nobody ever helped him while sitting in a hospital room visiting the brother who had helped him more than anyone. I told him the answer was still no. That's when his face changed. He stood up from the chair. He looked at me, hooked up to that machine with the oxygen mask on my face and the tubes in my arm, and my wife sitting right there, and he said, "I hope you stop breathing." He said it clearly, not whispered, not mumbled. He said it at full volume in a hospital room to his younger brother, who had almost died from not breathing multiple times in his life. Then he walked out. He didn't slam the door. He just left, like he had dropped off a package. Paloma stood up so fast her chair fell over. She wanted to go after him, but I told her not to. I told her to sit down because my heart rate was climbing, and the machine was starting to beep faster, and I needed her next to me, not chasing my brother down a hallway. She sat down and held my hand, and I could feel her shaking. My mother came to visit that evening. I told her what Cody said. While I was on an oxygen machine. What while I was on an oxygen machine? What part of that is just saying things? She said Cody was under a lot of stress. She said he was struggling and that the car situation was making